It's Monday, September 8th, 2025. And I would just say, as a continuation of the thought of good versus no good in the context of the Emperor Wears No Clothes storyline, is that in marriage, it's a contract going back thousands of years where both parties make a lifelong commitment, for richer, for poor, sickness and in health. And the only circumstance that was allowed in either party seeking a divorce is sexual infidelity. So it wasn't like just a straight blanket commitment that you can do whatever you want and I just have to love you. And, even though you're the town bicycle, you weren't the town bicycle before, but now you're the town bicycle now. This is worst case scenario for me, but I can think of, she could be stricken with cancer and be in the town bicycle, and she's trying to, catch up with whatever she thought she missed out on before she dies, getting railed out by the whole town. No, all of these things, if sexual infidelity, there's a limit. Unconditional, there's no such thing in this world. Unconditional means you're immortal, that things will last forever, but it doesn't. Everybody, God loves us unconditionally. No, the condition is you're going to die one day, and at that time, he's going to judge you, and you're going to get rewarded for what you did, what you knew to do that was right and good, and for the failure to not do those things that you knew was right and good. God's going to judge all of us. And God is going to grant mercy to those he wants to grant mercy to, because none of us are ever perfect. None of us have lived a perfect life to where God just says, Jerry, you did everything 100% right, so you get to go to heaven. No, if I get to go to heaven, it's going to be because God made it so, and he's going to see something in me, or he has given me something that merits me getting there. So too in marriage, it's going to be the same thing. No man or woman should ever expect the other person to be perfect. And in doing so, you've got a chance to, one, stay humble because the other person is walking into this situation knowing that you're not perfect. You should not have any real expectation that that other person is going to be perfect for you. And so this is where grace and mercy comes in, and real gratitude comes in. Because I'll tell you guys straight up, the one thing that I see that most men today are not willing to do is just go to work, provide for his wife and his children, and come home the same way he left home. A lot of times, a lot of these dudes will leave home and they'll have illicit affairs with co-workers or some side chick that they knew before they got married, and they'll keep it going. But it's at a point where if you're making a real commitment to be married and you are wanting to just have one wife in your situation, because I know in other cultures, wives are more than one. You can have more than one. You can have a first wife, second wife, third wife, fourth wife. In today's modern Islam, a man, he's allowed to have 4 wives, whether he can afford them economically or not. And if the 4 women are willing to work hard and he's running the show, and he's not really necessarily providing, he's providing leadership, but he's making, say, 3 of the 4 of the women work, and they rotate the work, and they bring home the money for the family, and everybody's cool with that. Hey, man, that's a wonderful situation. A lot of women would say, oh, that's funky. I wouldn't go with all of that. Well, that's your no goodness. You're not willing to open your mind to the possibility of there being something good in that situation. And the goodness is that there's going to be a man in this house to give leadership, to give direction and guidance to all of these women, and to be a blessing to these children. Whereas here in America, you got a lot of women saying, oh, I wouldn't be in this marriage, do the head wagging and all this other kind of, funkiness. but they're not coming up to say what would be a better option. Their better option is this: I can do bad all by myself. We know you can do bad all by yourself. The last 40 years have proven that y'all are experts at doing bad, which is no good, but you're not expert or good at doing good. So let's see if you highly educated, highly propertied, you guys own so much real estate, y'all got it going on strong. You guys are in these careers making all this money. Let's just see how the conversation can evolve into you talking about good things more than bad things. Because even talking with my two sisters, and I haven't talked to them in about almost 4 years, they can talk about the bad very good. They are experts at speaking about bad men, bad relationships, and all this, but they have no real clue on speaking about good things, because nobody's really been able to show and prove. And they'll tell me, oh, well, you were in a marriage and you screwed up too, you picked the girl and all that. Yeah, but I'm not afraid to talk about, I made the choice and it was a no good choice. It was a bad choice. And I take full acceptance of it. And I'm willing to share what I've gleaned out of that so that others won't make the same dumb decision that I made. I was married twice and divorced twice. You know, my ex-wife was married 3 times. So I'm still open to get remarried, but I don't think I'll ever get legally married. I don't think I'll ever get a license by the government to get married. I'm going to make sure to position myself in such a manner that I'll remain out of the legal jurisdiction of the court systems. And I mean totally out of the jurisdiction. Because having children in the United States puts you in a position where you are going to be dragged into their jurisdiction. Especially if you have the child at a hospital and you get a birth certificate, that is another opportunity for the government to get a stranglehold on you and enslave you and place you in a real bad position where you're not going to really have too much money in your pocket or too much freedom to do as a man was ordained to do in marriage: to be a leader, to be responsible, to have nobody telling this man how he needs to run his house. And the assumption in that whole regard is that, one, the man knows good from evil, and he knows to do good, and he's entering into that agreement in good faith. And this is what I'm really hoping that most men that watch my videos and listen to what I got to say, you got to have the right attitude. You can't be upset at these women for being women. The Bible story tells us that the first woman wanted to be like God, wanted to be in full control. And when she got full control, she blew up. She broke the rules. So the punishment for that woman was, it's going to be your desire to rule over your husband, but it shall never be so. And for all of these women today that are not doing it God's way, they receive cash and prizes, but they have not received the reward that was promised to them in marriage. They were not promised, they didn't receive the reward of a whole and complete family. They have children that love them. They may have support of these children, but they don't have that husband. And I remember I had a client that had a child, a boy, by this professional basketball player. She lived in a condominium townhouse complex that was in Manhattan Beach. And she had like 2 TVs in her living room. And that's kind of where she hung out for the most part, because she had friends and stuff coming by. And so she had the TV on. And many times that I would go over there, she would have SportsCenter and Fox Sports on her TV. And I'm scratching my head like, What broad is so into sports that she's watching all of these channels with sports on them? This doesn't make any kind of sense to me. But I come to find out that the baby daddy was a professional basketball player. And he was very popular on a team that really wasn't great, but actually became great and was going to the playoffs every year. And I don't know if the team had stopped going to the playoffs, but, you know, she's watching this dude, and he was getting interviewed as they were leading up to go into the playoffs. And I'm like looking at her, and I had a conversation with her at one point where I'm basically saying, you know, man, your baby's father, man, he's really doing it. And she's like, yeah, I guess he's doing it. I said, what do you mean you guess? He's doing it. This boy, they might win the NBA championship, because look like they got all the pieces going into the playoffs, because, you know, they're winning now, and nobody really thought that they were going to be even in the playoffs. But they ended up winning, I think, their division. They went into the playoffs, and, you know, they went really high up. They got eliminated, you know, at a certain point, and they weren't able to make it to the finals, but they went a lot further. And she's looking, and I can almost read in her body language and the tone of her voice that for all of this money I won, but did I really win? That was the attitude, the vibe I got from her. And I guarantee you, to this day, which was probably like 15 years ago, to this day, she might still be getting that money. But I know, old boy, he's married to somebody other than her, and she's miserable. She's living a life that many people would be so content to have, because she doesn't have to worry about money ever again in her life. She's probably getting 5-10 grand a month. The kid's almost grown, though, because it's 15 years ago. And I know the kid was probably like 2 or 3 years old when I was doing all this handiwork for her. So, you know, that gravy train of money is about to run out. And I'm pretty sure she hadn't done anything but spend the money on herself and a lavish lifestyle. So when the child turns 18 and the money runs out, I don't think she's going to have any real estate to rely on. I don't think she's going to have any money saved. She's going to be like that other dude's wife who got a whole bunch of money. They weren't married. But he was the Miami Heat's star guard. And if you look up the story, star guard for Miami Heat's baby mama freeway overpass with a sign, you'll know who I'm talking about. She ended up getting like $3-4 million. He cashed her out, and then not even like 5 years later, she's busted and broke. And she ended up, you know, going back, begging him for more money. And I'm like sitting there saying, man, I almost made $1 million over the 9 years that I worked at the fire department. And here it is. This woman got cashed out what took me 9 years, 365 days a year to earn. She got 4 times what I got. And this was like gross. This ain't net. These women are netting the full value of this money, and they are broke before it's all said and done. And they're miserable because they got this child that is no longer going to supply them with this crazy monthly child support. And their lives are no good. So understand this, ladies. You guys can grin all the way to the bank, but when your youth is gone and your beauty is gone, and the only thing you got is what's between your legs and these small trinkets of life, you're going to see your life was no good. you thought it was good, but it was no good at all. It was just a bad situation. The emperor wears no clothes. Why are these women spreading their legs to get all of this money from these professional athletes? Because you guys really think that you're no good. You've been tricked into believing, oh, what I'm doing is just a natural flow of hypergamy, and that's my natural instinct and all of this. You've been lied to. No good. So your thoughts are no good, and y'all need to wake up and see it for what it is. So be blessed. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. You're not going to understand it as a young woman, especially if you're on this track to, lock in one of these young, gullible, naive men, It's just a bad situation. It's a no good situation for everybody. Well, not everybody. Maybe the attorneys, they win, but nobody else is winning out of this. Homeboy, getting back to the basketball player, you can see he wasn't even thinking about the baby mama or the child. They're just a check. They're just something that comes out of his check every time he gets one. For as long as his career goes. And his career is still ongoing, believe it or not. 15 years, he's still in the league, this guy I'm talking about. And he's one of the premier players in the league. So I don't know if you guys will be able to figure out who I'm talking about, but all I can tell you is, for her, it's a no good situation. Because like I said, 15 years, this child's probably 17. This might be the last few months of her getting those last checks. And if she hasn't done anything, like if she didn't get a 15-year mortgage on the condo, if she didn't start buying rental properties with some of this money, I guarantee you she didn't do it, because she had one of the top-of-the-line Mercedes wagons going back 15 years that they had available. And she had another BMW car that was nice too. So she's just living to the extreme of what, the money she was getting every month was capable of providing. But the long and the short of it, no good versus good. Homeboy, he woke up and says, oh, you know what? I got tricked. I got bamboozled. I'll just chalk it up to just life experience. I got some experience, and I ain't gonna let it happen to me again. He got married though. And I'm pretty sure when he got married to this other woman, things were a whole lot different. He probably did a prenup, or he didn't get married in the legal sense, and he had her sign all these other agreements that if we have children, it won't be an issue of you taking me down to the court, because now I quite possibly may be under the jurisdiction of the United States government. No, we're going to make sure that you waive those rights and opportunities before this child is born, before I even put my thing in the thing that makes babies happen. And she was more than happy to do it, because she was in good faith. So this is not a knock on all women are no good. No, it's more like the good faith of an individual. Is it good faith or bad faith? Good versus no good. Even legally, we talk about good faith versus bad faith. Not good faith versus sophisticated gray areas of goodness versus badness and all of this. No, it's either good or it's not. Guilty, not guilty. Well, no, sort of guilty. No, the verdict is black and white. So understand this. The emperor wears no clothes. Good, no good concept. Talk to y'all soon.